Lucy begged the gods for a child. What she got was a daughter too beautiful for this world, and too cursed to survive in it. No one knew she would melt if touched by sun or fire, but every man still wanted to marry her. Once upon a time, in the peaceful village of Amani, there lived a woman named Lucy. Lucy was no ordinary woman, she was the wealthiest trader in the entire village. Her palm oil was famous, not just in Amani, but in all the neighboring villages. People believed her oil was the purest, and they traveled far and wide to buy it. But Lucy's life wasn't as perfect as it seemed. She had a sorrow so deep it kept her awake every single night. Lucy was childless. Despite her riches, her heart ached for the one thing money couldn't buy. She had tried everything, visiting herbalists, consulting voodoo men, and even traveling to faraway cities to see the best doctors. She spent small fortunes on her quest for a child, but all her efforts led to heartbreak. One evening, after a long, exhausting day at the market, Lucy returned home with her mates. She was ready to collapse into bed, but as they stepped inside, they froze. The house was spotless. Every chore, the sweeping, the washing, the cooking, was already done. But how? They had all been at the market together, and no one had left early. Lucy's heart raced with questions, but she decided to let it slide. The next day, it happened again. And the day after that. By the third day, Lucy couldn't ignore it anymore. Her maids whispered among themselves, their voices filled with unease. Was it magic? Was someone secretly helping her? Lucy decided she had to uncover the truth. The following morning, Lucy went to the market as usual. But this time, she returned earlier than expected and entered her home through a secret entrance no one else knew about. Quietly, she hid in the shadows of her house, her breath shallow as she waited. Hours passed. Nothing happened. She felt foolish and was about to leave when she heard a faint, unusual sound. Lucy turned her head toward the storage room. Her eyes widened as she saw something impossible. A barrel of palm oil, only half full, began to spill onto the floor. But the oil didn't just form a puddle. It began to rise, twisting and shimmering, until it formed the shape of a beautiful young girl. The girl began to sing softly, her voice magical and haunting. As she sang, oil began spilling from the other barrels. One by one, the oils transformed into more girls, each as graceful and enchanting as the first. They started moving about the house, cleaning, cooking, and tidying with incredible speed and precision. Lucy was stunned. She watched in silence, her heart pounding. Who were these magical beings? Where had they come from? The girls worked tirelessly until every corner of the house sparkled. Then, one by one, they melted back into oil and flowed back into their barrels. Only the first girl remained. She walked around the house, inspecting the work the others had done. Lucy knew this was her chance. She leaped out from her hiding place and grabbed the girl by the arm. The girl's eyes widened in shock. She struggled, twisting and turning, trying to break free, but Lucy held on tightly. "Please, don't leave me," Lucy begged. "Stay with me. I've longed for a child my whole life. Let me be your mother." The girl stopped struggling and stared at Lucy. Her gaze softened, and after a long pause, she nodded. "I will stay," she said, her voice as soft as a whisper. "But there are rules. I cannot go out in the sun, and I cannot be near fire. If I do, I will melt away." Lucy's heart swelled with joy. "That's no problem at all," she promised. "I will protect you. I will hire enough maids to do all the chores, and you will never have to go near the sun or fire." Lucy named the girl Miracle and told the villagers a story. Miracle was her child, born in a distant land. She explained that the midwives had declared Miracle stillborn, but by some twist of fate, the truth had come to light, and her daughter had returned to her. The villagers believed Lucy, and they welcomed Miracle with open arms. The very next day, Lucy threw a grand feast to celebrate Miracle's arrival. The whole village was invited. Music filled the air, and everyone danced and laughed, celebrating the miracle that had changed Lucy's life. For the first time in years, Lucy felt joy, convinced the gods had finally answered her prayers. She was no longer alone, she had a daughter. But not everyone was happy. Some people in the village whispered behind Lucy's back, saying that Lucy was spoiling Miracle too much. They thought it was wrong that Miracle never did any chores. The servants in the house grumbled too, feeling jealous that they had to do everything while Miracle was treated like a princess. Some villagers even called Miracle a spoiled child. But Lucy didn't care. To her, Miracle was a blessing, and she would do anything to protect her. She loved her like no one else could. As years passed, Miracle grew into a stunningly beautiful young woman. Her beauty was the talk of the village. Men from Amani and even neighboring villages came to seek her hand in marriage. One by one, they presented their cases to Lucy, but she always refused. "My daughter cannot work on a farm under the sun," Lucy would say firmly. "She cannot cook or do chores. It's impossible." The suitors tried everything to win Miracle's hand. They brought gifts, sang praises, and even promised to hire servants to take care of her. But Lucy's answer was always the same: no. She knew that no man would be able to care for Miracle the way she did. News of Miracle's beauty spread far and wide until one day, a stranger arrived in Amani village. His name was Johnson. He was a handsome and wealthy farmer from a distant land. Johnson had been married for 5 years but had no children. His family and friends had urged him to take a second wife, and when he heard about Miracle, he decided she would be the perfect choice. Johnson's arrival caused a stir in the village. He rode in on a fine horse and wore clothes made of the richest fabrics. The villagers whispered among themselves as he approached Lucy's house. When he knocked on the door, Lucy greeted him with her usual calm demeanor, though she was curious about the stranger. "Madam Lucy," Johnson began, bowing slightly, "I have traveled far to meet you and your beautiful daughter. I wish to ask for her hand in marriage." Lucy studied him for a moment. His polite manners and confident tone impressed her, but she remained cautious. "My daughter is special," she said. "She cannot do ordinary chores, nor can she be exposed to the sun. How would you care for her?" Johnson smiled. "Madam, I am a wealthy man. I can provide Miracle with all the comforts she deserves. She will never have to lift a finger or worry about the sun." Lucy's expression softened, but she wasn't convinced. "I will think about it," she said finally. Word of Johnson's proposal spread quickly. The villagers gathered in small groups to discuss it. Some were excited, hoping Lucy would finally allow Miracle to marry. Others were skeptical, doubting that Miracle could adapt to life as a wife, even to a wealthy man. Meanwhile, Miracle remained indifferent. She spent her days reading, singing, and enjoying the luxuries her mother provided. But late at night, when the house was quiet, she would sometimes stare out her window at the moonlit fields and wonder what lay beyond the confines of her pampered life. As the days passed, Johnson visited Lucy's house often. He brought gifts of gold, fine fabrics, and exotic fruits. He spoke kindly to Miracle and told her stories of his travels. Slowly, Miracle began to warm up to him. She found his tales of faraway lands intriguing and his gentle nature comforting. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lucy called Miracle to her room. "My dear," she began, "Johnson has proven himself to be a good man. I believe it is time for you to consider marriage." Miracle's heart raced. She had never truly thought about leaving her mother or the life she had always known. "But Mama," she said hesitantly, "what if I melt? What if I can't be a good wife?" Lucy took her hands and smiled. You are stronger than you think, my child. And Johnson seems to understand your needs. Perhaps this is the path the gods have chosen for you. Miracle didn't reply. That night, as she lay in bed, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. She didn't know what the future held, but deep down, she sensed that her life was about to change forever. 2 market days later, the entire village buzzed with excitement as Johnson returned with his family and kinsmen to pay Miracle's dowry. The atmosphere was lively, with villagers crowding around Lucy's compound to catch a glimpse of the lavish ceremony. Musicians played drums and flutes, while women ululated in celebration. Miracle, dressed in a flowing gown made of the finest fabric, looked like a goddess. Her beauty was unmatched, and everyone whispered about how lucky Johnson was to marry her. Lucy stood proudly by her daughter's side, beaming with joy. Though her heart ached at the thought of parting with Miracle, she was determined to make this a memorable day. The dowry ceremony was grand. Johnson's family came bearing gifts, baskets of yams, barrels of palm oil, shimmering gold jewelry, and rich fabrics. They spoke highly of Miracle and assured Lucy that they would cherish and protect her. Lucy, in turn, gave her blessings but couldn't help reminding Johnson of Miracle's unique condition. Remember, she cannot cook or do chores, Lucy said firmly. And above all, keep her safe from the sun and fire. Johnson nodded respectfully. I promise to care for her, Madam Lucy. Miracle will want for nothing. After the dowry was paid, the traditional marriage ceremony commenced. Villagers sang and danced late into the night, celebrating the union. It was the talk of the village, and many said they had never witnessed such a splendid event. As the ceremony ended and it was time for Miracle to leave with Johnson, an air of sadness hung around Lucy. She held Miracle tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. My child, Lucy said, her voice trembling, I will miss you dearly. Remember everything I've told you. Be strong and never forget that you are my Miracle. I'll miss you too, Mama, Miracle replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Please visit me often. I will, Lucy promised. She handed a small bag to Amoka, Miracle's maid, and said, take care of her, Amoka. She must not go near fire or walk under the sun. Amoka nodded solemnly. I will, Madam Lucy. Johnson reassured Lucy, I will take care of her as if she were made of gold. With a final tearful hug, Lucy watched as the procession departed. The villagers cheered as Johnson and Miracle rode away in a beautifully decorated carriage, followed by Johnson's entourage. When Miracle arrived at her new home, she was awestruck by its size and beauty. The house was even grander than her mother's, surrounded by vast fields and a sparkling stream. Inside, Johnson introduced her to his first wife, Alice. Alice greeted Miracle with a forced smile. Welcome to your new home, she said, her tone polite but cold. Miracle nodded shyly, sensing the tension in Alice's demeanor. Johnson ensured that Miracle was settled comfortably in a lavishly decorated room. He provided her with fine clothes, jewelry, and a separate servant to attend to her needs. At first, everything seemed perfect. Miracle enjoyed the luxury and Johnson's kind attention. But as the days passed, the underlying tension began to surface. Alice, who had initially kept her resentment hidden, started to express her frustration subtly. She disliked how Miracle received special treatment and resented her inability to contribute to the household. One evening, while Miracle sat in the shade enjoying a cool drink, Alice approached her. Miracle, she began with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, it's good to see you relaxing. But don't you think it's time you started helping around the house? After all, we are one family now. Miracle hesitated. I'm not allowed to do chores. Mama said it's not safe for me. Alice's smile vanished. Not safe, she said sharply. This is a home, not a palace. Everyone has responsibilities. Before Miracle could respond, Johnson appeared. Alice, he said sternly, Miracle will not be forced to do anything against her will. Alice fumed silently, but she nodded and walked away. From that day, the tension between the two women grew, and Alice began to plot ways to make Miracle's life difficult. The following day, while the servants were preparing a meal, Alice confronted Amaka. Does she ever lift a finger? Alice snapped, pointing towards Miracle, who was sitting under a shade reading a book. Madame Lucy warned us that she must not do chores, Amaka replied timidly. Alice's eyes narrowed. This is my home too. Let's see how long this pampered princess lasts. Later that evening, Alice deliberately instructed the servants to delay Miracle's meal. When Miracle asked for food, she was told to wait. Hungry and confused, she sat silently until Johnson returned and noticed her distress. What's wrong? He asked, concerned. They said the food isn't ready, Miracle murmured. Johnson's expression darkened. He summoned the servants and scolded them, but Miracle couldn't shake the feeling that someone was trying to make her uncomfortable. Alice's jealousy simmered beneath her polite smile. She resented Miracle for being treated like royalty while she bore the burden of the household chores. As days passed, Alice's anger grew, especially when she saw Johnson's affection for Miracle and the special care she received. One afternoon, while Johnson was away working on the farm, Alice confronted Miracle. You think you're too special to help around here, she sneered. You sit around all day while I do everything. Miracle, startled, replied softly, it's not that I don't want to help. I just can't. Enough. Alice snapped. Today, you will cook. If you don't, there will be no food for anyone. Miracle's maid, Amaka, begged Alice, please don't force her. Madame Miracle cannot go near fire. But Alice was unmoved. She grabbed the cane and pointed it at Miracle. Get into that kitchen now, or you'll regret it. Terrified, Miracle had no choice but to obey. With trembling hands, she approached the fire to prepare the meal. As she got closer to the flames, her body began to weaken. Beads of oil formed on her skin, and before she could call for help, she started to melt into a pool of golden palm oil. Amaka screamed in horror, but Alice covered her mouth. Be quiet. Alice hissed. Don't tell anyone about this, or I'll make you disappear too. Alice, in a panic, scooped the palm oil into a jar and used it to cook beans for the evening meal. Amaka watched in shock, her eyes red from crying, but she dared not disobey Alice. When Johnson returned home, he immediately asked for Miracle. Where is my wife? He asked. She's taking a long bath, Alice replied, avoiding his gaze. Hungry from his walk, Johnson sat down to eat. Alice served him the beans she had prepared with the palm oil. Johnson took a bite and exclaimed, this is the best beans I've ever tasted. What did you use? Alice forced a smile. Just some special oil, she replied. Hours passed, and Johnson began to grow worried when Miracle didn't appear. He called for Amaka, noticing her swollen eyes. What happened? Where is Miracle? He demanded. Amaka burst into tears and revealed everything. Johnson's face turned pale as the truth sank in. Overwhelmed with grief and anger, he gathered his kinsmen and rushed to Amani village to inform Lucy. When Lucy heard the news, she let out a heart-wrenching cry and collapsed. The villagers rushed to her aid, but she remained inconsolable. Days later, overcome by grief, Lucy passed away. Her death shook the entire village. Meanwhile, Johnson's kinsmen held a council and decided Alice's fate. Her actions were deemed unforgivable, and she was banished to the evil forest, where no one dared to go. Alone and haunted by guilt, Alice's cries echoed through the darkness. Johnson, heartbroken, never remarried. He spent his days tending to the land and often sat by the stream near his house, staring into its depths, as if searching for Miracle's reflection. Though Miracle's life ended tragically, her story became a cautionary tale passed down through generations. The villagers spoke of her beauty, her gentle nature, and the love her mother had for her. They remembered her as a symbol of purity and the dangers of envy.